As far as the S&P today, it couldn't get any easier. I gave you guys the answer sheet. Hopefully you guys listened. I certainly did not because I did I did go long as far as the NASDAQ. We'll get into that next. So the S&P today, first of all, we had that gap down yesterday, and I'm glad I said it because, we could just this candle turned green, but it did look bad gapping below that zone. But overnight, it was like, don't worry, Pelosi bought the market. We're good. So it looks like that gap down was led a little bit more to while the futures were closed, Nvidia did tank. Also, Nvidia was up this morning. But absolutely send it. So we just rocked this thing up, hit that yellow zone, sold all the way off inside 1 hour. I didn't keep up with any news today. I just didn't watch it. Whatever did, yeah, data must have came out right at 1. Was it Thursday? So no, all this was Thursday morning to this morning. So
There was no data. It just somebody sat on
interesting.
the button in the office or something.
Okay, so no data. We saw crazy volume coming in, right? Was this on Nvidia? Because Nvidia was the one that was just had the crazy sell volume in it. Uh,
Somebody
well,
said there was like 5 million volume in a 1 minute candle or something like that. Like it
yeah,
was pretty nuts.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, well, that's interesting, because that to me, and even this right here looks like this looks catalyst driven. A report came out, and especially awkwardly at 1 o'clock too, which is usually when Powell goes live. There's usually some kind of data coming out at 1. I just assumed it was that. I was like, nah, they got the excuse because we went yellow zone to yellow zone, just yellow box to yellow box. I guess it took 45 minutes.
Today
Uh,
traded like the days we had a couple weeks ago, maybe even last week. Steve, if you remember this, we talked about it on a couple Zooms where 1 o'clock was this big like dark pool order would hit, like a timed order, and it would sell the market off. And it was happening like Tuesday through Thursday for a couple weeks. And it was like 1 o'clock was that big down. Steve, you're muted.
hmm,
Thank you. I'm just saying it's the bonds that the
okay.
bonds have been causing some moves at 1 o'clock.
Okay. Was there an auction today?
That's what I'm double checking. Today I went to sleep. It's just like, I don't know.
I'm gonna try that tomorrow.
Yeah.
You try that every Friday.
Well, it's Friday. I'm supposed to. Well, while he's checking that, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a bond auction.
Yeah. It was a 1 o'clock and interest rate. Now, this is what's crazy. The interest rate dropped quite a bit. So I guess they're worried more about the recession again. The previous, and this happened to be a 7-year note auction, which is, it's okay, important one.
Mm-hmm.
Prior auction, it was 4.16. And this time it was 3.77. So that was a pretty big drop in interest.
Do you have the auction dates on there?
Yeah. Hold on.
I said, do they happen to be the
They
20?
they usually are most often, hold on. They're usually Monday through Thursday. There's almost never on Friday.
Okay. Does it happen to be Thursday the 22nd or Monday the 26th?
Hold on, I'll have to go back.
That is
26th. There was not a 1 o'clock.
okay. Was there one just in general?
Oh yeah, there was one. They're usually 11:30 and at 1. So
Okay.
they had a big one on 11:30 on the 26th.
Okay. Because I had the S&P up, and just on those 2 dates, we'd hit this yellow zone and then just sold off.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm glad I gotta blame TikTok for that because I'm glad I caught that. We had this blue zone drawn right here, and we drew it, way back, as we were seeing these candles. I didn't even think to just go back and kind of zone things out, and that's where we found this actual zone right here. And so far, we're hitting that, and like Matt says in the chat, looks like J.P. Morgan's just saying, go ahead and get me out, close enough, market sell, like, or Goldman Sachs. I don't want them to ever find me and just say, I'm lying about their company. Like, I'm just saying a big market order. You guys recognize the names. But yeah, someone's clicking the market sell button and just absolutely just sending it. Whether they're sending one order and everybody else is doing the work. So far, it's holding this zone. So ultimately, the S&P is just going sideways which is fine. I will say the rate at which we're selling off. I mean, this is the 4-hour chart. So let's go to the hourly. Yeah, so this took 2 hours. This took 1 hour. The rate at which we're going just from zone to zone, it's striking like lightning. It's just come out of nowhere, and then, bam! If you were asleep, if you were working, you just weren't literally watching the charts and having alerts go off. You're just there's a surprise for you. So I gotta say, taking a mental note of that, uh, just at the awkwardness of it, I guess. I don't know. It'll be nice when we get above this, because then we'll just know someone probably was selling. There probably was a batch order right here, and it was just filling as we hit there. But for now, I guess when I see this, I'm worried more about the symptoms. Let's say JP Morgan is selling. They're going to sell 10 million contracts. We got 1 million here, 1 million here, 1 million here. There's still 7 million to go. And if we keep tagging it, they'll keep filling just fine. But there's a reason they're selling, and it's not because we're going to all-time highs. There's typically an expiration date. Like, we need to be out by this date. When institutions get out and they turn their algos on, it's, hey, start filling us. We'd like to have this much by this date. We need to be out by this time. And it's cool when you can just mess around and let the market fill you. But what I worry about is, when do they say time's up, fill the other 7 million shares, or the other 7 million contracts, just to paint that picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be sounding the alarms if it breaks this yellow zone. We've done that a couple times right here. Breaking this yellow zone, I'm sure there would be a bunch of catalysts on the news that day if we actually get that low.
Going into the NVIDIA thing, I was real bullish, and because I believed earlier in the week, I noted those big downdrafts, that they were looking for supply. They would drive it down sharply, and then, bring it back up methodically as a way of shaking out the weak hands. I got to tell you, the weakness of NVIDIA and then those subsequent downdrafts, I'm thinking things are a lot more shakier than I originally thought. And the Qs look weaker than the SPY, but
yeah. But I hear what you're saying, because I was last night or the night before, I said it kind of feels like we're on eggshells, but we do just kind of just keep, like Dom says, like, it's just this market. We might as well just it's almost like a joke how some of these dips just keep getting bought up, regardless of where we're at or anything like that. So yeah, I hear you. And it's, which one's going to crack first? Do we end up holding on? Do we tiptoe in the right direction? Why? And going back to like these lightning strike sell orders, why are they so anxious to get out, or why is that sell order there?
And tomorrow's volume is going to be light like crazy.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get.
I'm buying November
tumbled
540s on the SPY to play the pullback to 5407 on SPX.
540 calls. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the 540 puts.
Calls. He means calls, people. He's bullish.
He definitely means calls.
Okay, so you're gonna buy the 540 puts for November, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's our September, October pullback. I do. I don't think we go down all the way back down, but I think that's a good level. And you'll like it. There's a gap there.
And you're not using the end of October just because you want to give yourself a little extra time.
Seasonality.
Yeah.
We've got the Fed meeting coming up. Say they raise 50 and everybody starts talking recession. And then you've got October going into the election, a lot of uncertainty. I think it's a good time for a pullback.
Yeah.
What gap is there? Is it a gap on SPY?
It's on the SPY.
Okay.
Very small. It's small.
But there is a gap. Oh, you're talking about this gap right here?
Yeah, like a 5407, something like that. Yeah, you got a zone there.
Right here.
Yeah, it's very tiny. That's not a gap, though. That's a wick.
Well, at one point it gapped. We closed here and opened here. It just already filled it.
There you go.
So do we check that off, or once the gap fills, it expires? We're good. We're going to talk about it anymore. I'm sure there's one on SPY. Let's go find it. 540. There's even not a gap. No, but that's the
right
gap's
there.
Down here. That's 530.
Oh, I thought it was 540. Well, I'd be in the money if it went to 530.
Not a not a bad conversation to have when you bought an out of the money contract and you're now talking about how in the money it is.
Yeah, maybe my chart's not up to date because I was trying to pick the zone down around that range. I thought it'd be in that area, and when I pulled up my USD SPX, you've got a zone at 54.
Yeah, 70. Oh,
Yeah,
54. I think
54.70. Yeah.
I literally just deleted this zone right here. Okay. Uh, Man, that wouldn't be a bad dip buy. I mean, overall, if the markets did just do that, and that's a colossal waste of time from June to now. But given the run we've been on, the 18-month run, that's nothing. If we really take the bird's eye view, going back to kind of this trend up, all we're doing is just taking some time off the clock. It would look a lot like it does right here. So in the grand scheme of things, as traders, hopefully we're going to catch that downtrend. Grand scheme of things for any like long-term portfolios or anything like that, better dip buy than anything.
And I'm not saying I'm not placing that. Let's call it a bet. I'm not putting that out there to try to make money. I'm trying to pick a logical hedge to make sure that I'm protected if we do something like that. And
Yeah.
that's what logically I could see playing out as a bear.
And Matt does bring up a good point. He says looking a little candy cane-ish. As far as being bullish goes, this is what you should be nervous about. Kind of just a plane trying to play rocket. It kind of hits that altitude limit, starts to stall, and then kind of fall back down. So I agree, but and then just again looking at the way we have this sell order right here, kind of makes me think. Well, one or two things, because how much volume do you need to actually sell it off this much? Because just a giant chunk here triggers enough stops for everyone else to fill it that much. So JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs doesn't have to be the sole purpose. It goes from here to here. I guess the question we need to ask ourselves now or be mindful of is, are they trimming it back? Do they have 10 million contracts? They're trying to scale it back to 7 million. Or are they trying to just get all the way out? We know they're not, they physically can't just get all the way out. But why? What are they doing with this sell-off? Is it let's just take a little bit of the risk off, let's trim the fat, or are we taking a butcher knife to this thing and just getting out of there? So for now, I need one of those. What's the doomsday clock? We just need it. It goes from 10 to 11 when we break this yellow zone. It goes from 11 to midnight when we break that zone right there, and then Chicken Little's going to take the stage. As far as the expected move goes, talk about a very systematic and nothing week. Volume has been lousy. Should be better next week. I bet everyone, if there was any, like, let's just remove the risk off the table for the weekend, it was today. No one's jacking around in the markets tomorrow. Monday, it's closed. So we got a short week next week. All right, Qs. I talked about this before we hit record. I went long a couple times. This wick got me out. I think I went long again up here, and then that wick got me out. Was annoying. I ended up, as soon as we broke this wick, just tagging this type 2 to the zone. We were just headed south. I went short there. That made up. I did awkward timing. So the two longs I took right here, I think was one right here. We had shot up. This came back down, tagged me out. It was two awkward just L's. But then this one, as far as made up for the two. Then I made some money. Not a big day for me at all. So as far as the Qs, not anything right now. I doubt I do. For me to take anything over the weekend, we would have to make something drastic happen. If the Qs completely melted off tomorrow and got to that yellow zone, I'd be long over the weekend. But I'm probably gonna be with the banks. I'm probably 1 foot out the door already. Tomorrow I have to manage my Lululemon position. I took a call position for earnings. I'll go over that after the end of this. But other than that, I'm kind of just I doubt there's anything I take tomorrow. Yeah, no. thank Dom for that. the Lululemon. What's funny?
I've given Don lots of losers. I'll be the first to say it. Yeah. If I
Yeah.
was a hitman, I'd have a lot of tattoos for things that I've killed.
DXYZ is doing really well. Thanks for that.
What was it? DXYZ. That one's infamous.
Yeah, it's doing
Yeah.
really, really well. One of my best
Uh,
positions, actually.
but it is important that I'm trading my account, not Dom's. So anytime you guys give me something, if it looks good, it's because I think it looks good, not because what you guys said. I like it when we agree because that I like to think that reflects something of what we've talked about in our conversations or anything like that. Other than that, that's as far as it goes. But I what's funny is I didn't even think about Dom saying anything because I opened up my chart to look at it and Lululemon was down. Like, God, closed my phone. I was like, done. This is stupid. I'm not even gonna check it tomorrow. They're just gonna be worthless. But it did recover. It's back in the green. Surprisingly. So I guess I have to manage that tomorrow. As far as the Russell goes, if there's one I would entertain going long, it would be the Russell right now. At least we have this just overall trend going up. So as long as we keep that, we're good. You could probably, if I had two traders come up to me and said, "Hey, I went long. My stop's below this wick," and the next one said my stop's below these wicks, probably fine. Probably both okay. The likelihood of it breaking this wick and not breaking this one next, I think if it breaks that one, it's probably already headed south. So this one's just gonna take a little bit longer to tag out. But so far, holding on. The overall markets, though, I'll be curious to see what happens next week. Looking back at this picture, I am curious if we're starting to round this thing out. Now, if you guys noticed, as far as the NVIDIA call, so I rolled it this morning, before it sold off. Talked about it last night, and I specifically said if we wake up at 114 or 124 because it recovers, won't even be surprised. And that's exactly where we were at this morning. I was like, this is unreal. So I was excited to lock in that sold call. So we woke up to that, and I was like, all right. But while there's still some premium here, I rolled it the call we had for this Friday to next Friday. Kept the 117 strike just because things weren't looking that good anyway. So I didn't want to roll it up a strike, collect less, and then all of a sudden the shares drop anyway. So I don't, as of now, I said this earlier in the chat, anything below 120 to 100 starts, I think is where it starts the dip buy for a lot of people. Anything under 120, they're like, I could pick up a couple shares. It goes to a red hot sale at $100 or less. So I don't want to get too aggressive anymore. After we went into management mode, after it did that, I kind of think NVIDIA might just pull over for a little bit. So I might just keep the strike at the 117s for a while.